A huge cyclone has brought flooding and destruction to India's eastern coastline. Thousands of homes have been destroyed, but the mass evacuation of up to 1 million people seems to have averted disaster. The cyclone brought winds of up to 130 miles an hour. With a big relief operation underway, reports are now coming in saying that at least 14 people have died. From Orissa, Sanjoy Majumdar reports.
The devastation left behind by Cyclone Phailin visibly evident across India's east coast. In some places, hardly any trees are left standing. Power lines are down, blocking roads. People are now out taking stock and beginning the lengthy process of cleaning up.
Yesterday, this was a ghost town. The square was completely deserted as people scurried for cover from Cyclone Phailin. Today, of course, there are many people out and about as they try to get a sense of the damage that the cyclone left behind. But the one thing everyone's very relieved about is that the loss of life has been minimal.
On the beach, Air Force and Navy rescue teams have been out looking for survivors, fishermen trapped in the sea, or people who were left behind on the coast. There's concern at the widespread damage, but also relief that not many have died.
There's been a lot of destruction here in this town. There is no power and mobile phone towers have also been affected. We were up all night during the storm.
I think the authorities were well prepared for this storm. People were evacuated in advance and taken to shelters. We are very thankful for this.
In one of the largest exercises in India's history, nearly 1 million people were evacuated and housed in temporary shelters. Many of them will not have homes to go back to, but at least they're alive. Sanjoy Majumdar, BBC News, Orissa.
Well, with me now is Oenone Chadburn, who is the head of humanitarian support for the charity Tearfund. Thanks very much for coming in. What are you hearing from your partners on the ground about how things are looking now?
Well, we're hearing some great news stories about how people have been rescued, how the 1,700 cyclone shelters have supported over these 900,000 people evacuated. And that's great news. But I think what we're also hearing is there's been a lot of destruction of the fields, agricultural crops. Over 500,000 hectares of agricultural land has been lost. So there's a big job yet to be done.
So often when we as lay people hear about these events, we think of the immediate aftermath and how people need to be helped in the hours and days. But actually you're saying that this kind of event means long-term planning now because there may be harvests spoiled and so on.
Absolutely. It was just at the time when they were just about to harvest their rice crops. A lot of people were told to harvest as much as they could in the 24 hours before they were evacuated. We don't know the impact of that, but these people now will have lost everything that they rely on. Their livelihoods depend on farming, small-scale micro enterprise, and they will have lost their assets such as farming tools and their houses as well.
Clearly the work of charities like yours is crucial. You also need the Indian government to step up. We see that in many ways here they seem to have done a very good job because previous incidents like this have had a much greater death toll, for example.
Absolutely. I just want to firstly say the Indian government have done an amazing job. And that's because a lot of people have come together over the last decade, including Tearfund, funded by UK aid, to be supporting a lot of what we call disaster risk reduction work, which means working on preparedness, which means reducing the impact of disasters. And so communities are trained in how they can do evacuation drills. They're trained in maybe to bury their essential items and their essential documents so that they can save these items for afterwards, and to maybe move their livestock and cattle to higher ground.
So would you say that as almost one of the first trials of this new scale of evacuation, this has been a success? Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. But while we've saved lives, we've not saved livelihoods. And I think what we need to emphasise is there is an enormous task yet to be done. We know that from the previous Orissa cyclone back in 1999, it took over 5.5 years for those communities to recover. And we're seeing that journey is going to have to be re-begun again.
A lot still to be done. Oenone Chadburn from Tearfund, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.